Going on, Jerome's beautiful Tuesday. Thank you, everyone who submitted questions on our Q&A. Occasionally, we'll put it out there, community tab, call out for questions, and thank you so much. Love doing these. Again, every single Q&A video, I say we got to do better with them and do more of them. We'll try. Try so hard. First up is Tim Lindsay. Can we please see a page or two from the greatest show on turf? It's what I think every time I see Darnold holding onto the ball, with half the opposing team destroying our interior offensive line. Where are the effective screens, draw plays, and especially the quick slants when the blitz is coming? And why do we seem to have no answer for it at all? Well, in fairness, the greatest show on turf was kind of like what the Vikings are doing right now, where it was deep shots downfield. It was Kurt Warner hanging in the pocket, maybe a little bit too long, and just uncorking things to Isaac Bruce and Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, as well with Pride NC State, plus Azahir Hakeem, Ernie Conwell, Marshall Faulk out of the backfield. Well, there's a lot of short stuff to Marshall Faulk. Anyways, but it is a fair question, right? And it's actually fitting right now because I'm listening to a book by Michael Silver about the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, with McVay and Lefleur and whatnot. And, of course, it's funny that so the book is called The Why is Everything, a story of football, rivalry, and revolution. Cool. But it's weird that Kyle Shanahan is Kevin O'Connell's grandfather in the coaching tree because of McVay. Anyways, but you see what McVay does. You see what Kyle Shanahan does, right? And it is a lot of, because Brock Purdy gets this reputation for being a check down screen merchant. Not really the truth, but Shanahan is very effective at getting the ball out of the hands quick, getting it to Kittle, getting it to Christian McCaffrey when he was healthy, getting it to Debo, right? And it does seem like the Vikings are sort of all or nothing on offense. Now, it's very entertaining. Sure. Sam Darnold is up there in terms of ADOT. He's top 3 in the league, 35 touchdown passes this season. And when they're dropping piss missiles all over the place, it is very fun to watch. But once that's taken away, once a team plays 2 deep safeties or they're mugging the receivers at the line of scrimmage, playing a lot of press man, you got to be able to have bailouts. And that's something that I don't want to give credit to Jared Goff and the Lions of Ben Johnson, but that's something that they're very good at, is when the blitz is coming, when an area is vacated, there's always something there, and Goff is generally able to find him, right? And that's so frustrating and demoralizing. But the Vikings, I don't know. It's just like the safety valves aren't built in, and we keep talking about going with the quick game, getting the ball out of Darnold's hands, or where are the design play action rollouts? Like where's the boot action? Where's the outside zone to naked boot? A hallmark of the Shanahan West Coast offense, right? I don't know, but I believe in Kevin O'Connell. I think that this offense, when it's on point, it's extremely good, but it's gotta get dialed in. It's so frustrating. Like the Lions defense, they've gotten gashed the last 5 weeks, averaging 30 points allowed a game, and you don't even get in the end zone. And, yeah, you can put a lot of that on Darnold, but a lot of that is on O'Connell as well, which is just really frustrating. Frey, should the team bring in a run game coordinator? They have one. Running backs coach Curtis Modkins is the run game coordinator. Or does Kevin O'Connell need someone in his ear to remind him to quit abandoning the run? Play action only works if teams believe you're going to run the ball. That's fair. And except for like the very end of the Lions game, like everything was still viable. Like it was a 1-score game through 3 quarters before the levee broke, and it's something that Kevin O'Connell's even admitted, that they do get away from the run game. And even if it's not racking up and stacking up stats, just the fact that defenses have to be ready for it, and it wears down the opposing front 7 and the Vikings offensive line. They are adept at running the football, pass protection, maybe not so much, but if you're a spot where you're just pass happy. Yeah, and it was pointed out that the Lions in the red zone generally just played their base defense. So that's why the Vikings were tending to look to throw, because I think it was 9 out of the 11 plays inside of the Lions, 10 were passes. No, you got to continue to run the ball with Aaron Jones and Cam Akers. It's because you could tell, like, late in the second half, early in the third quarter, when they're running the ball with aplomb. Akers ripped off that long 58-yarder. Jones came in the second half after his IV and did some good work. Like, Darnold calmed down a little bit, but too little too late. Noel, do you think the 2025 version of the Vikings will look a lot different than the 2024 version? Potential coaching changes, quarterback position, free agency, etc. I think defensively they could see a lot of changes because a number of the key players are on expiring deals or were on one-year contracts to begin with. So Tillery, Bullard, you have Gilmore, Griffin, all on one-year contracts. Murphy's on expiring deal. Beasley's in the last year of his rookie deal. And the Harrison Smith also he is on a revised contract where he's essentially going to be a free agent next year. So who knows if he leaves or retires. So defensively, there's going to be some change, especially if Flores does take a head coaching job. There's going to be some personnel swaps on defense. Offensively, I mean, whatever happens with Darnold, which we'll talk about here in a second. Then you do have Aaron Jones is on a one-year deal. Would love to have him back. Would love to draft a young running back in the day 3 area there. It's going to be this is a really good running back class, man. And also, there's going to be shifting along the offensive line. Like, this cannot, the whole, the Brandel experiment didn't work out. Reisner, and Bradbury, certainly that needs to be done. Over. Finito. Next, Cody Pierce. Andy, I just wanted to start with the love for the dedication. I just wanted to start with love for the dedication, love for the Vikings and your fans. Hey, thank you. Question. Why do you think when it comes to big games, when the big games happen, the Vikings seems to always poop the bed regardless of coach, quarterback, staff, are cursed? By the way, just putting it out there, ride or die. I don't know. Like there isn't like a through line. Like they didn't build the Dome and U.S. Bank Stadium on a burial site, right? But I don't know. Like, going back to Bud Grant and company, it just seemed like every single time they went to the Super Bowl, they ran into a better team. And sometimes that is what it is. And for the Vikings, they've had a lot of heartbreak lately, but I don't see how 2024 correlates with 2017 or 09 or 01 or 2000 or 98 or 89 or 87. I don't really see how that does tie in, but there is there does seem to be a strong correlation. Just like, the Vikings just never tend to get it done. And I don't obviously the players and the coaches, Kevin O'Connell and the locker room is not thinking about the 98 Vikings, I could never get it done. It ain't like that. But could it be a lack of big game experience? I mean, maybe. I mean, but you see new teams rise and fall all the time, right? But I don't know. It comes down to a spot where we said that the loss of Lions may actually benefit the Vikings because maybe they came in complacent. Maybe they came in thinking that their poop don't stink. Well, they know that it does now, right? And now, wild card, you're refocused, and you're going to go down swinging, or you better, right? Because what do you have to lose at this point, right? So all of the tightness, all of the pucker factor, it's gone. Just go out and play ball. And we've seen the Vikings play extremely high-level ball this season, offensively, defensively, teams. So just go out and play. That's what it comes down to. I actually do think that Darnold, to a degree, had a bit of a pucker against the Lions. And speaking of Darnold, Crispy KPL, I feel like the narrative around Sammy D and his season with the Vikings has shifted dramatically from franchise tag him immediately to it's still the same old Sam after the Vikings versus Lions game. Where do you stand on Sam currently? Do you think he'll bounce back in the playoff against the Rams after the devastating loss yesterday, or do you think that he'll choke against them in the playoffs? So before the Lions game, I was in the camp of, hey, let's keep him around for another year and see what it is, right? But then it was so bad against the Lions. It was absolutely bat-bleep atrocious. He completed 43% of his passes. He had a 55.5 quarterback rating. It was the absolute nut low, potentially worst game that you could have asked for because it was all on him. It wasn't even circumstances that you could blame it on. It wasn't drops. It wasn't bad puck luck. It wasn't anything like that. He literally had piss-poor footwork. His eyes were completely off, and he missed wide open touchdowns. He wasn't taking first read. Jordan Addison should have had 2 touchdowns. Jefferson should have had at least 1, right? And it's just a complete crapping of the bed in a big time spot, the biggest game of the year so far, and he just no called, no showed. Now, if he had just had like an average game, or had just done Sam Darnold things like he's done all years, like, okay, we can work with this, because guess what? It wasn't Darnold just a stat padding against a bunch of slappies. Like, Darnold has played extremely well in high leverage spots against good teams, and he just didn't do that against the Lions. So it definitely changes the calculus. And I do think that even though Darnold has fans in the building with the Vikings, I mean, absent him, stepping up and showing up and showing out very well in the playoffs, like when it matters the most, maybe they just let him walk. Or maybe this is a tag and trade situation, except you're not going to get the bounty that you would have gotten if Darnold continued to play at a high level, right? So it was a... I know a lot of people are like, oh, a lot of people changing their tune about Sam Darnold. That's because there's new information. Right? It's not hypocritical to change your thinking based on the input of new information, especially when the information is very pertinent of how he performed in the biggest game of the year. He completely just pissed all down his leg, and it's just unacceptable, right? Because Darnold, I do think that Darnold this year had a better season than Kurt did in any year, right? And beyond black and white stats, just in terms of how they performed in the clutch, in leverage spots. I mean, Darnold led a couple game-winning drives, fourth quarter comebacks and that stuff, but how he performed against Detroit is just inexcusable. And it's not like Detroit was world beaters on defense. They had a great game plan, respect to Aaron Glenn, but Darnold didn't adjust, O'Connell didn't adjust, and Sam was just missing. He was just off, right? And it was completely opposite of how he's performed all season. And frankly, it was pretty disappointing. You feel bad for, obviously, the team and also for Darnold, because, I mean, Darnold's money maybe just eroded, maybe just burned half of it. It's just gone after this point. Plus, if he turns in a stinker and say the Vikings go 1-and-done against the Rams, I mean, that's it. He won't be back here. He suddenly goes from getting 45-50 million a year in free agency to, I don't know, 25-30, right? Or a tag and trade situation goes from a first and change to a third, maybe. Nah. But it's not over for Sam. But obviously, like we said, we've seen him play at extremely high level and got to get his ish together. It's just such a poor timing for the absolute worst performance of the year. It's just not good. Anyways, that's it. Vikings Q&A on this beautiful day, baby. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.